It was raining from the sky. I just got out of the courthouse, divorced from Christina. Leo, waiting in the car, couldn't wait any longer. He ran out in the rain, possessively wrapped an arm around Christina's waist, like a victor. An elite car with the license plate 00001 pulled up beside me. Diana stepped out, opened an umbrella, and created a small dry patch for me. Christina stopped, frowned at us, and asked, "What's she doing here?" Before I could speak, Diana wrapped her arms around mine and said, "Getting married." Christina's face darkened and she pushed Leo's hand away. "Tim, so you wanted to divorce me all along, huh?" On our third anniversary dinner, I had prepared a candlelit dinner at home. I knew Christina wouldn't join. She had texted me, saying she was dining with a client and would be late. I hadn't done this in a while, as her return home became less frequent over time. But tonight was different. I touched a document cover. No matter how late she'd get home, I was going to wait and tell her the adoption application finally got through.
Invited from dusk till midnight.
Feeling exhausted, I went upstairs to rest. But when I jolted awake in the middle of the night, Christina still wasn't home. I pulled out my phone to text her but saw a post from Leo. It was a picture taken by the window, arms entwined with the caption, "Love is where the heart is, not a paper shackle." Though it was just two overlapping arms, I immediately recognized the hand with the custom ring. It was Christina's. It felt like falling into an ice pit, the dazzling cityscape in the background stinging my eyes. I knew that view all too well. Christina and I used to call that place our marital home. She once said it was too noisy there, that I didn't work and didn't need to stay in such a bustling area. So, she shipped me off to this secluded mansion in the suburbs. Meanwhile, she and Leo were doing God knows what back in our old place. I knew Leo was her college sweetheart, but Christina and I had been through thick and thin. We developed feelings over time. She proposed, promising to let go of the past and love only me. But it was just our third year of marriage, and she'd already broken her vows. I had no idea when Leo returned from abroad or when they got back together. Right then, trembling, I only wanted to confront them. But as I reached the stairs, I suddenly slipped and fell down. When I woke, I immediately canceled the adoption arrangement. Christina rushed over, eyes red from anger, scolding me for not being careful. Her complaints grew louder, without a shred of concern or comfort for me. I just stared blankly, not a word to say. My in-laws made a call out of obligation but didn't bother checking on me. Without Christina at the company, it lacked direction. Her father insisted she go on a business trip to earn money. After she left, her brother visited, bringing Leo with him. Though I hadn't seen Leo in years, he looked just as dashing, fair skin, deep eyes, and perfectly coiffed hair. In contrast, I looked like death warmed over. "Tim, long time no see," he greeted me coolly. I closed my eyes and said only one word: "Leave." "Tim, you knew my sister never liked you. It was always Leo. You just managed to trap her into marrying you. But see now, life's a boomerang. Your company went bust, you're finally out of her life, and she can marry the guy she really loves. It's a cause for celebration." Her brother and Leo had always been close. He must have known about the affair and was now rubbing it in, calling Leo brother-in-law right to my face. I clenched my fists, my face pale as paper. Leo smirked arrogantly, patting the brother's shoulder. "He's too weak now, don't provoke him." Christina's brother sneered, "Leo, you're too kind. This guy stole your girl. He should have been finished off while sick." Ignoring the idiot brother, I glared at Leo. "That photo, you sent it to me on purpose, right?" Leo feigned concern, adjusting my bedding as he leaned in closer. "So what if I did? You stole my woman." I smirked. "Did you forget? Back then, you left Christina for greener pastures when the Greens went bankrupt." Leo's face twitched but soon returned to his shameless grin. "Thanks for being there in her low times. Now she's back on top and here I am too. Be smart and leave or I'll have Christina throw you out." Seeing the twisted glee beneath his handsome facade, I forced myself up and grabbed the hot water a nurse had kindly given me, flinging it at him. The water nearly hit his face. He dodged behind Christina's brother, getting only his neck. Her brother cried out, rushing at me, ready to fight. Though spent from the feeble throw, I knew I was outmatched. Luckily, medical staff arrived and pulled them away. Leo, ever the performer, pointed accusingly at me. Gavin, he's your brother-in-law, and you'd scar him. Tim, how heartless. He then embraced Gavin. Really, it's my fault. If only I'd moved faster. The clueless brother-in-law seemed touched by him and glaring at me, said, I'm gonna tell my sister you tried to kill me. Just wait, Tim. I looked at him coldly. I'll wait. Suddenly, it was like a light bulb went off in my head. I thought about the past decade, all revolving around Christina. I tried my best for her, but she still chose the man who once abandoned her. So, fine then, let's just go our separate ways. Life is short, only a few decades really. I'm exhausted. I want to live more freely. The first thing I did after leaving the hospital was find a divorce lawyer. To my surprise, I was greeted by Diana. Diana and I went to the same high school. Back then, she was a famous troublemaker. Who would have thought she'd turn into a renowned divorce lawyer years later? I still remember confidently telling Diana when I saw her off back then that I would grow old with Christina. But now I'm asking her to be my divorce lawyer. Life is absurd and unpredictable. When Christina found out I wanted a divorce, she looked furious and began mocking me. You've been relying on me since we got married. Your family is bankrupt now. You sure you can survive without me? I glanced at Leo beside her and replied coldly, that's none of your business. Christina wanted to say more, but Leo interrupted gently. So many people like Tim. Maybe he's already found someone else. If he doesn't love you anymore, let him go. Christina sneered. Does he think he's still a prince? That someone will want to marry him right after our divorce? I'd like to see how good a life he'll have without me. Christina said ours was merely a marriage of convenience. She wouldn't take anything from my family, nor would she share her assets with me. If I agreed to that split, she'd divorce me. The Greens figured my family's bankruptcy meant I wouldn't give up the cushy life. But I signed without a second thought. You just signed like that? Think I'm just a prop as your lawyer? Diana was furious when she heard about the agreement. She had plans to bleed the Greens dry. She couldn't believe I was naive enough to sign it away. Looking at her angry face, I almost laughed. I didn't care about Christina anymore. Why would I care about money? Besides, did she think I was that dumb? Back in the day, I was just as skilled as her at playing dumb while secretly winning. Yet Diana was so mad she didn't want to talk to me. Only after I treated her to milk tea did she say, Tim, I'm not married anyway. Maybe you should consider me instead? I'll make sure you're comfortable. I rolled my eyes. The Smiths Company is the biggest in the city and notable nationwide. If her idea of comfort was that, then my past life was indeed starving and freezing. I swallowed the milk tea. Do you even hear yourself? She was already striking, and with her sharp jawline and smooth collarbones showing, even the waiters found excuses to bring napkins over twice. I discreetly shifted my gaze and advised her kindly, don't just marry someone because your family pressures you. Marriages and love should have some aspiration, especially since you'll be spending half a life together. Looking at me, she said, who said I'm settling? I've never been so sure. Her confident look made me a bit anxious. I avoided her gaze, steering the conversation away. I told myself it was just a joke. I mean, during high school, I never heard she liked me. Now, meeting for the first time in years, saying she wants to marry me, must be a joke. Without property disputes, the divorce should have been straightforward. But Christina wouldn't sign. Leo, worried I'd change my mind, kept sending provocations. First, it was Christina cooking for him, then him showing off in what used to be my bed. None of it really got to me anymore, until I saw a video of my dog, Coco, cornered and screaming. Coco's my dog from when Christina and I started dating. On many nights when Christina was late, it kept me company. Even though Coco was mostly with me, Christina knew it well after all these years, and despite any bond, she turned a blind eye to Leo's abuse. I was furious and called Christina. Her voice was tired but picked up immediately, unlike before when it would ring forever. When she heard I was calling about the dog, her tone was frosty. Either you come back and take care of it or let Leo. Your choice. Christina, you're pushing it. You asked for the divorce. You cheated. After a few moments of silence, she said, if I said I never wronged you, would you believe me? I scoffed, thinking of the child we lost. Whether you did or didn't, whether I believe or not, it doesn't matter now. The moment you brought him into our home, we were done. There was silence on her end. I thought she'd feel guilty. But she snarled, you'll regret this, Tim. I sighed, that's on me, not you. I told her I'd pick Coco up the next day. She outright refused, no, Coco stays with me. Infuriated by Christina's nonsense, I snapped, Christina, can it be you're unwilling to let go of the only thing connecting you to me? There was a pause, then a dismissive laugh. Fine, come get him tomorrow. Knowing I'd be going to the Greens, Diana insisted on coming with me. The butler sent the dog out of the villa, saying Christina had already gone on a business trip and told her to give the dog to me. I had already seen a picture Leo sent me of Christina and him sitting on a plane. Holding the skinny dog, Coco. I got in the car. After all these years, once she signs the papers, Christina and I will finally be done with each other. I remembered how I liked Christina the first time I met her many years ago. Back then, our families lived in the same neighborhood, and my family's business was bigger than theirs. When we were kids, Christina's mom would joke about how I should become their son-in-law. But Christina wasn't that impressed. Whenever people jokingly asked her where her husband was, she'd sulkily throw down her toys and run home. I liked sticking around her, but she didn't like me. She was always pushing me into the sandbox or breaking my new models. Or she'd join the other girls in making fun of my pale face, saying I looked like a pretty boy. She even laughed at how skinny I was, saying I ran like a string bean. To make her stop giving me grief, I stopped eating my mom's delicious cakes. I worked out, hoping to build some muscle. I knew Christina's mom was hard on her about school, and Christina really wanted to be top of her class. So, I'd mess up on purpose in exams, making sure I stayed far behind her in the ranks. I hoped if I placed myself in her shadow, her mom wouldn't push her so hard. Even when I turned into a tan and muscular slacker, she still didn't want anything to do with me. So, I asked my mom to intervene and get Christina to tutor me. Since the Greens were business partners with my family, Christina's mom decided she'd become my personal tutor. Christina wasn't happy about it, but her mom insisted. So, I went over pretty often, never empty-handed. I knew her mom liked organic produce, so I'd pick the best fruits from our garden to bring over. And I saved up my allowance to buy her younger brother stuff from the celebrities he admired, hoping he'd mention me positively to her. But no matter what, Christina never let me sit at her desk. She made me read sitting on a small stool at the door. She refused to explain anything, calling me dumb and insisting I look up answers and strategies online. At the end of each session, she'd kick me out. But back then, I didn't mind. I was just happy to spend 2 hours with her. During exams, I'd deliberately get some answers right so I had an excuse to stay in her tutoring sessions. Christina was always distant, not just with me, but with any boy trying to charm her. I thought she just wasn't mature yet. My mom said girls mature late, and once they grow up, they know how to treat boys better. So, for those years she didn't grow up, I put up with everything. Whenever she laughed at or teased me, I never got angry. I just followed her around, sharing all the fun and tasty things with her. Eventually, she stopped making fun of me and even occasionally stood up for me. I was happy she was finally maturing because I wouldn't have lasted much longer. After all, we were just teens. I got hurt, upset, and sad too. Seeing my efforts finally pay off filled me with a kind of joy and relief only I could truly understand. When I managed to get into the same prestigious high school as her, I thought things would get better. But then Leo came. As a transfer, he drew all eyes, good-looking, outgoing, and more stylish and buff than the usual lanky high school guys. In his jersey, he looked athletic, with broad shoulders and a narrow waist. One walk around campus and he was the school's talk. Christina, who was usually so aloof, volunteered to be his desk mate and tutor. And our after-school biking routine turned into her walking Leo home. The time we used to spend on our sessions was now her phone time with Leo. Everything that was once spent on me was being spent on him. Before, I was naive in my feelings for her, but now I understood mutual feelings and that you can't force love. I stopped pushing myself onto her, though seeing how she looked at Leo always got to me. That's when I learned if there's something in the world I can't have despite my efforts, it's Christina's heart. I wasn't an outstanding student, barely on any teacher's radar. When I was down, I'd skip class and head to the rooftop, diving into competition problems to distract myself from the pain of Christina and Leo. That's where I met Diana, another rooftop skipping spirit. She was the class beauty but struggled academically like me. We often swapped places for the last spot in school rankings. She handed a lollipop to me one day as I cried and did problems. And that's when she found out my secret of deliberately scoring low. I had some candy and it didn't feel so bitter inside anymore. She asked me why I liked Christina. I asked if it was that obvious, and she chuckled, saying anyone with eyes could see it. I couldn't muster a smile and decided to teach myself how to hide my feelings. Diana, aside from commenting on my taste, didn't bother me again. We each took our own side of the rooftop, doing our own things. Usually, I was working on problems while she was sleeping. Since I started avoiding Christina and Leo on purpose, I found myself on the rooftop more often. One day, Diana, who usually slept, went on a weird streak and insisted I tutor her. If not, she'd tell everyone I was deliberately lowering my scores. To keep Christina from finding out I'd been doing this for years, I had no choice but to teach Diana every so often. In return, Diana brought me breakfast every morning. She loved sticky rice as much as I did, and sometimes I'd get her a yogurt. When I was feeling down, she'd give me a lollipop. She didn't have many friends. She'd ask me to cheer her on while she played basketball. I didn't have much else to do, so I'd watch her play, and afterward, we'd grab a bite from a little street vendor near school. Somehow, the two of us bottom dwellers ended up becoming friends. Spending more time with Diana, I didn't find her aloof like others said. In fact, I thought she was way friendlier than Christina. Then, because I often skipped classes and hung around Diana, Christina actually approached me, telling me to stay away from Diana. I asked her what right she had to tell me that. She shuffled her feet and said, "I know you like me, but I'm into someone else. Besides, I've always seen you as a little brother. I don't want you to go down a bad path with Diana. She's not good for you." In her eyes, I was a brother, but I didn't need another sister to lecture me. She wanted me to distance myself from Diana, but all I heard was that she was into someone else. That was the first time she admitted she liked Leo. I pushed down how terrible it felt and wished them well while forcing myself to move on. But I didn't heed her advice about Diana. When I was at my lowest, Diana was the one who kept me company. Even if we might barely exchange words on the rooftop, she'd offer me a lollipop when I felt down. Just knowing she was nearby brought me unexpected comfort. Before long, we reached senior year, and Diana wanted us to apply to the same school. I asked what vocational school she had in mind, and with her serious eyes, she said she wanted to aim for the top university in the country. I joked that if she scored top of the class in the next mock exam, I'd apply with her. She was more serious than I'd ever seen her and asked, "You mean it?" Of course, I replied. To everyone's disbelief, Diana scored first, nearly 30 points higher than second-place Christina. The whole school was shocked, and Christina, who thought Diana was a slacker, suddenly felt threatened. Then I finally realized Diana had been playing dumb all along. She fooled everyone, including me. After that, Christina treated Diana as a rival. Perhaps under too much stress, and compounded by her mother's business troubles that hit her family finances hard, Christina, who aspired for the top, messed up her college entrance exam and ended up with a local third-tier college. Leo broke up with Christina when her family's situation came to light. With her family's financial collapse, academic failure, and emotional turmoil crushing her, I saw her cry helplessly for the first time. When she got drunk and mistook me for Leo, begging me not to leave, I wavered. If I left, would she fall apart? So, during the last exam, I handed in a blank sheet. I had one thought then to help her through it. Diana was very disappointed to find out I stayed back for Christina. She sought me out before leaving for college, saying Christina wasn't worth it and suggested I retake the year to get into a better school. But by then, I was Christina's emotional crutch. I didn't want to leave her. I vowed to Diana that Christina and I would be happy together. She looked crestfallen, handed me a lollipop, and boarded the train. I was lost in dreams of future love, not realizing what I was losing. I went to that third-tier college with Christina, which naturally ended my ties with Diana. Early in college, Christina had to juggle classes and part-time jobs to support her family. I couldn't stand to see her so tired, so I worked alongside her. Still, she urged me to keep my distance. Proud and sensitive, she finally admitted she felt unworthy. To ease her pride, I lied about my family's bankruptcy. In truth, it was during our company's transformation. When I took over, we shifted business paths, starting anew, shutting down the original. Though skeptical at first, seeing our company vanish, perhaps she felt empathy. She stopped distancing herself. We were suddenly equals as she began taking me to her jobs, making sure I earned something too. Back then, I was with her in grimy restaurant kitchens, scrubbing dishes piled higher than me, wandering the cold streets handing out flyers, sharing bread behind the classroom, only heading to the dorms after curfew, exhausted yet hopeful. I gave up comfort to struggle alongside Christina. I leave in the morning full of energy and come back at night completely drained. There was a time when my mom would cry seeing how much weight I had lost, but I didn't mind. Those tiring days brought me closer to her than ever before. I could feel Christina's gaze getting more intense, and we finally got together. Christina, who worked part-time every day, promised she'd restore her family's fortune, and I'd live the good life again someday. But before that day came, her family got evicted because they couldn't pay rent. I persuaded my parents to let the Greens stay in our other unused luxury apartment. To save their pride, I made up a story saying the apartment was lent to us by a relative. After all, my family was bankrupt too, and my parents had moved back home to avoid debt, so the place was just sitting empty. I told them they'd just be helping keep the place lively. At first, the Greens were grateful. Christina's mom would always have fruit or soup ready for me whenever I visited. Her brother always called me brother-in-law, especially after I used money Christina and I earned from part-time work to buy him a new gaming system. Christina doted on me like the perfect girlfriend, doing childish things with me and sharing all the good stuff. It was tough, but we were genuinely happy. I actually found Coco on the way back from a restaurant job with her. I felt incredibly lucky. The girl I liked cared deeply for me, and her family knew me well and treated me warmly. What could be better? I was determined to help them get back on their feet. I secretly connected the Greens with my family's old clients and subsidiaries, helping them bounce back. Christina never knew, so she thinks their success is solely from their past efforts. Once the Greens were back on their feet, things began to change. Christina's mom, who'd always pushed for us to marry, now talked about how late marriages were trendy and women shouldn't miss their prime career years. She said waiting a few years to marry wasn't a big deal. Then Gavin stopped calling me brother-in-law and started asking when I'd get a job, implying I'd need Christina to support me after graduation. I never intended for Christina to support me. To take the pressure off her, I visited less often and said I was job hunting. But Gavin called me asking me to make black chicken soup for my sister since his mom would be out playing mahjong. Though it bothered me, Christina always defended me, sometimes even arguing with Gavin. Then Gavin bluntly told everyone that since my family hadn't recovered from bankruptcy, I wasn't good enough for Christina. Christina slapped him and quickly married me. No one could say I wasn't good enough anymore, but my relationship with the rest of the Greens went cold. Christina's mom stopped being friendly. I thought about revealing my family's true situation to Christina, but my parents saw the change in how the Greens treated me. They advised me to keep quiet. If Christina remained good to me, everything would be ours eventually. If she changed her mind, I'd have a way out. I followed my parents' advice and moved out with Christina, as her mom and brother disliked me. I spent my time taking care of her and assisting with the tedious and tricky tasks at her company. I did all this willingly, trusting that as long as Christina loved me, we'd have a bright future. Despite the ups and downs, it didn't bother me. But in our second year of marriage, she got busier and spoke less to me. Whenever I asked during her stressful moments, she'd shut me down, saying I couldn't understand anything from home. I knew Leo's return was partly Gavin's doing, but had Christina firmly refused, Leo wouldn't have had a chance. No one's truly innocent. I told my parents, who were overseas with my grandfather, that I was divorcing Christina. They were furious about her cheating. Dad even took blood pressure meds. He never liked Christina, felt she didn't care for me enough, and hated seeing me act so meek around her. We both had family businesses, and ours was larger than Christina's. Why did we have to accommodate her? But back then, I was so in love with her. Even after the Greens went bankrupt, I kept helping them financially just so I could marry her. It takes only a moment for someone to wake up. I was mad at myself for being blind, but I wanted Christina to face the consequences. I kept urging Christina to get the divorce papers sorted out, but she always brushed me off, saying she was too busy on business trips. Since she was so swamped, I decided to make sure she had less to keep her occupied. Diana brought Coco back for me and showed up every day with dog food. When she heard I was heading to get Christina's signature, she insisted on coming along. I unexpectedly showed up at the Greens office, catching everyone off guard. My ex-father-in-law and brother-in-law were giving Leo a tour of the place, and everyone called him boss. When they saw me, the mood turned awkward real quick. I was decked out in brands I'd never worn before. My shoes were a limited edition. My brother-in-law couldn't hold back and rushed over, accusing me of using his sister's money after the divorce, calling me shameless, demanding I pay it back, and claiming that no matter how nice I looked, his sister would never take me back. My ex-father-in-law, already swayed by Leo, glared at me as if I had spent Christina's fortune. In reality, I hadn't spent a dime. In fact, I put money in. I told my brother-in-law to hit the books a little more so he won't get played like a fool. Then I suggested my ex-father-in-law take a real look at the finances. The company's money was always under his control. Christina was using her cash to dress up and visit her lover. So what was left for me? When they both fell silent, Leo pretended to be in charge, calling security to throw me out. Christina just sat in the conference room watching, without uttering a word. Just before security could touch me, Diana walked in, standing in front of me with a cold face. Try touching him. The sight of the Smiths' only daughter there stunned everyone. My brother-in-law couldn't take his eyes off Diana. Christina finally stepped out with a dark look. Tim, when did you start seeing her? I pulled out the divorce papers. She's my divorce lawyer. Cut the crap and sign. Christina stared at Diana. And if I don't sign? I then revealed a pile of termination contracts. If you don't sign, these companies' contracts with the Greens are over. My brother-in-law and ex-father-in-law laughed at this. Who do you think you are? These companies have been our partners for years. You think you can just end it? Diana looked at them coolly. 2/3 of your clients are connected to the Millers, and the remaining third only deal with you out of respect for him. You decide if you want to sign. Christina was especially shocked as everyone's jaws dropped. The Greens never anticipated their prenup would turn into my biggest safeguard. Leo nudged a hesitant Christina. Maybe just sign it. Huh? Having received the signed divorce papers, I still tossed them the termination contracts. Since we've known each other, I didn't want to utterly destroy their business, so I extended the termination until the year end. You've got 6 months, better work hard, or the company might go bust. I said, picking up the contracts, meeting Christina's defeated look. Then, out of nowhere, my ex-father-in-law lashed out. Tim, don't get cocky. You low-life gold digger. Nobody'll marry you once you leave my daughter. I couldn't believe it, having once supported the Greens, that he'd say such harsh things about me. Thankfully, Diana shot back. That's none of your concern. Plenty of folks want to marry someone like Tim. I'm one of them if he's interested. Everyone turned to me in disbelief. I was grateful to Diana for stepping in. As we left, I caught a glimpse of Christina's pale face. Tomorrow was the day to finalize the divorce, so I took Diana out for dinner. When we got back, I saw Christina and a teary-eyed Leo at my door. Christina had dark circles under her eyes, a sight I only saw when she was desperate back in the day. She rushed up and grabbed my hand. Tim, listen. It's not what you think with Leo. We're not together. Leo quickly chimed in. Tim, Christina only let me stay at your place because I had nowhere else to go when I returned. She left soon after. We really didn't do anything wrong. Blame me if you must. His tears made it seem like he'd been wronged. Despite this, I felt calm, like I was hearing someone else's story. We're divorced already. Let go, I told Christina coldly. Christina panicked. Tim, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have just focused on work after the wedding. I shouldn't have kept you in the dark about Leo staying in our home. I was wrong. Please don't marry someone else. I brought Leo here to clear things up. We really have nothing between us. Leo bit his lip, staying silent. It doesn't matter if there's something between you. Not to me. Step aside. I wasn't in the mood to watch their poor act, but Christina wouldn't let go. Honestly, if she'd had the guts to tell me she wanted to be with Leo when she learned about my family's wealth, I might have actually respected her more. Now I just wanted her gone. She told you to let go. Didn't you hear? Diana's voice came from behind me, cold as ever. I didn't need to look to picture the icy expression she surely wore. I wondered why she had come back again. Christina's face visibly turned cold. She looked like she wanted to rush up and fight Diana, but Leo held her back tightly. Christina stared at me in disbelief. Tim, are you really divorcing me? Don't you love me anymore? I looked her straight in the eyes. Christina, I did love you, but now I am exhausted. I can't love you anymore. Let's part on good terms. Christina probably never imagined that the guy who followed her every word for 10 years would one day fall out of love and actually go through with a divorce. She always thought she was in control of the relationship, but now I was the one ending it. She was unwilling to accept it. She pointed at Diana and said, Tim, do you think she really loves you? She just wants to win against me. Back in the day, she liked you, but you liked me. She beat me in every subject, but she couldn't take you away. Now she just wants to have you to win an old bet. You'll regret divorcing me for her. I held Diana back from hitting Christina, and all I could think was, Diana liked me back in high school? How did I never notice? Whether I regret it or not has nothing to do with you, I replied, then turned to Diana, who looked unusually anxious, and gave her a faint smile. Congratulations, you won this time. Diana was taken aback for a moment, then pulled me into an embrace. Christina clearly couldn't handle the reality, her expression turning bitter, but eventually, Leo pulled her away. I led Diana into my yard. Want to come in for some tea? She held my hand. Nope. Then she smiled at me. Since we're going to the marriage office tomorrow anyway, why don't we just get married then? Diana, can you be serious? I've always been serious, ever since high school. The night was dim, and her words caught me off guard. She handed me a lollipop. Remember me when you eat it. Get some rest. My heart skipped a beat, and I hurried inside, almost as if running away. Lying in bed, I thought of Diana back in high school. She was always distant and proud, never talked to other guys, but constantly asked me to tutor her. I remembered how her house was in the west, yet she would always show up on the east on my way to school. And every time Christina left me heartbroken, Diana would offer me a lollipop and silently accompany me. I sighed, realizing that my youth was so focused on Christina that I ignored everything else, missing out on so much beauty in life. Late at night, my parents called from abroad. Grandpa's condition had worsened. His biggest wish was to see me happily married. It crushed me to think my family was already shattered. I booked a flight to see him the next day. After a long hesitation, I called Diana. Is what you said about wanting to marry me still true? After a few moments of silence on the other end, she answered, Tim, I'm on my way to your house with my household folio. We'll register as soon as you're done with the divorce tomorrow. It rained the next day. After finalizing the divorce with Christina, Leo, waiting in the car, rushed out in the rain to hold her waist, as if afraid I'd change my mind. An ultra-luxury car parked beside me. Diana stepped out, looking so cool that Leo was stunned. She opened an umbrella and sheltered me. Christina paused and frowned. Why is she here? Before I could say a word, Diana took my hand, her face radiating happiness. To get married, of course. Christina's expression turned completely dark, shoving Leo's hand aside. Tim, you wanted this divorce all along, didn't you? I looked at the woman I once loved without much emotion. Don't make me regret ever loving you. In disbelief, Christina watched as Diana led me inside to register. On the flight abroad, Diana held my hand tightly. Worrying about Grandpa's condition, I asked if she still had lollipops. She hugged me. Your tooth doesn't hurt, does it? Stop eating candy. With me here, your life will be nothing but sweet. I blushed as the sunlight gleamed in through the window, making the world feel a little more wonderful. Diana's epilogue. I thought I'd spend another mundane 3 years in high school until I met a boy who was completely clueless. He had terrible taste, liking that pretentious Christina in his class. To help her come first, he'd lower his own scores, competing for last place with me. He truly was a guy who gained nothing in the end. Initially, seeing him doing problems alone on the rooftop amused me. Yet seeing him work through tears with hunched shoulders made me slightly annoyed. When I felt bitter inside, I'd eat candy. I handed him a lollipop, and sure enough, he stopped crying. To talk to him more and distract him from his sadness, I asked him to teach me problems. He tried so hard. The confused look on his face when I didn't get it after 10 explanations always made me laugh. I enjoyed looking into his eyes because I loved seeing myself reflected in them. Seeing Christina upset him to tears was infuriating. Eventually, I confronted her to be honest with Tim if she didn't like him and not keep leading him on. Christina said it was Tim's choice and challenged me to try and make him stop liking her. I had a fight with Christina. I don't want him to be strung along by her anymore, so I told him we should aim for the same college. He said he'd agree if I get first place in our grade. I know he didn't mean it seriously and thought it was just a joke, but still, it made me happy. I haven't had a clear goal in years. Everything in my life has been pre-planned since I was born. But from now on, I'm going to take the road I want to take. When the grade rankings came out, he found out I was controlling my scores too. I thought he'd be mad, but he wasn't. Instead, he was happy for me. He said I was his best friend and he'd keep his promise to get into the same school with me. This idiot who cares about being his best friend. But as long as he's with me, I'm willing to do anything. My college entrance exam results came out and I thought for sure we'd end up at the same school. To my surprise, Tim didn't even try and handed in a blank paper because of Christina. Christina told me that even if I outscore her, I still can't win Tim's heart. I'm really disappointed in Tim. His taste is awful. I was so mad that I stopped contacting him and was surprised he didn't reach out to me either. I heard about him from time to time through our old classmates. He got married. If that's what he wanted, I wish him the best. My family keeps pushing me to go on blind dates, but the guy I wanted to marry is already married to someone else. One day, I was hanging out at a friend's law firm and ran into Tim. He was there to get a divorce. I felt bad for him, but honestly, I was a bit happy for myself. I joined my friend's law firm and naturally became Tim's lawyer. I wasn't brave enough back then and hurt him. But this time, no way am I letting him leave my life. He turned out to be even more clever than I imagined, leaving a way out for himself. He is the guy I like after all, though Christina's greed played a part too. If not for that, he wouldn't have been pushed this far. Christina finally signed the divorce papers. I confessed my feelings to him, no idea if he got the message. Oh my gosh, today is the happiest day of my life. That idiot actually called me to ask if I wanted to marry him. I thought I'd end up alone, but it seems like fate wasn't so cruel after all. We finally got our marriage license. I've never been this nervous on a flight because he said he wants me to meet his grandpa. I'm worried his family won't like me. He fell asleep on the plane. Holding him, it feels like I'm holding the whole world. Christina's epilogue. I always knew Tim liked me, but I didn't like him because my mom always made me hang out with him, saying I'd marry him one day. My parents always want me to do things their way. Now they even dictate who I should marry, and I hate all of it, including Tim. I tried hard to bully him, but he never got mad. I didn't even have an excuse to drive him away. Over time, I got used to him being around. Sometimes I'd look at him. He got taller and stronger than before. Still kind of naive, but a lot cuter. Lots of girls liked hanging out with Tim. He'd just go play with them. Was he dumb? I couldn't believe Tim got into a good high school. He said his dad pulled some strings to get him in. Figures he's not smart enough to make it on his own. Still, having him around in high school was comforting. Then, this guy named Leo transferred to our class and I felt like I was in love. Leo was my desk mate. He asked me to tutor him. Of course, I said yes without even thinking. Tim also wanted my help, but I'd been tutoring him for years without much progress. Cutting him off a bit wouldn't hurt. Tim stopped going to and from school with me and started hanging out with this Diana from the class next door. Diana was just a slacker biding her time till graduation. Tim was already a bad student. How is hanging out with Diana going to help him? I didn't even need to go looking for Diana. She came to me, telling me to stop stringing Tim along. I know Tim likes me, but I never said I liked him. I know Diana likes Tim. We're both girls after all. Even if I don't like Tim, I don't want him with her. Diana and I had a fight and I was annoyed at Tim. Why hang out with a troublemaker like that? Leo confessed to me and that made me really happy. He wanted me to tell Tim that we were a couple. I didn't get why he insisted, but I didn't want him angry, so I told Tim. Seeing Tim frown made me feel uneasy. I told him to stay away from Diana, but he didn't listen. Whatever, Leo didn't like me talking to Tim anyway. I used to not get the saying that life is like a roller coaster, but now I totally do. My mom's business went under and almost overnight, I lost my cushy life. I bombed my exams and even Leo left me. He got into a top college and said he was applying to study abroad so we couldn't be together. I know he broke up with me over my family's situation. Time changes things. Things I couldn't see before suddenly became clear. What I didn't expect was that Tim, who could have gotten into a top university, chose to stay for me. The moment when I had nothing, I was just glad he was still by my side. I knew he liked me, but I was torn. I wasn't who I used to be and I couldn't give him a good life. I didn't want to drag him down. But then he told me his family went bankrupt too. Strangely, I felt happy about that. We were on the same level, so at least he wouldn't leave me because he looked down on me. Those rough days were almost unbearable for me, and I couldn't believe that someone like Tim, a guy who was brought up in wealth, could handle it. If it wasn't for him, I would have broken down. This experience showed me another side of him. I realized how little I truly knew about him. When my family was kicked out of our rented apartment, it was Tim who gave us a place to stay. I'll never forget the way he showed up like a superhero when we had nowhere to turn. I'll admit it, I've fallen for him. With Tim, I feel grounded and at ease. Tim might really be my lucky charm. After getting together, our family business started to pick up again, and we finally moved back into a house. My brother said Leo came back. He misses me, and he even said Tim isn't good enough for me. Leo, with his education and looks, is supposedly a better match for me. I was angry, but there was a spark of something I couldn't quite explain. Leo left back then, and I held a grudge. But now I get it. Those days were hard. Even I almost couldn't last. With understanding, the hatred lessened. He was my unresolved chapter. Afraid of temptation, I went ahead and married Tim. But Leo still came looking for me. He was more mature than he used to be. I wanted him to see how well I was doing so he'd regret walking away, but I had no other intentions. He said he needed a place to stay. I took him to a hotel, but he wanted to see my home. Somehow, I wanted him to know how happy I was with Tim, so I brought him there. When he stumbled at the window, I helped him up. I didn't expect him to take a picture and send it to Tim. When I heard Tim lost the baby, fear kicked in. Felt like something was gone for good. He stopped talking to me and wouldn't hear me out. I wanted to stay and be there for him, but the family business needed me to make money. Tim wanted a divorce, and my first reaction was that he was just fuming and trying to spite me. I was mad too, that he didn't believe I was faithful after all these years together. Out of anger, I told him he couldn't take a dime. I figured he'd never want to go back to those tough times. But I forgot, back then, he chose to go through the hard times with me. Seeing him sign the separation papers panicked me. Yet I believed he loved me, and he'd come around after sulking. I didn't foresee Diana returning, let alone as his divorce lawyer. I refused to sign the divorce papers and didn't want him taking Coco, the pet we raised together. When he first spoke to me with a sarcastic tone, it hurt and felt unfair. He wouldn't believe me and was rubbing it in my face with Diana. Why should I be the one to back down first? It wasn't until today, when Tim came to the company, that I realized I had it all wrong. I thought I gave him a good life, but it was the other way around. Without him, our family business would have failed a long time ago. Now he's using the company to push me into a divorce. The Greens business can't collapse. I had no choice but to divorce him. Making mistakes means dealing with the consequences. It's more painful than I imagined. Because of my stupidity and arrogance, I lost the best husband in the world with my own hands. I didn't lose to Diana. I lost to myself.